Good morning, everybody. Ryan Carpenter here with No BS Golf, presented by P45 Knuckledown Golf. Well, we got through the meeting day, the big, hoo-ha in the Bahamas, and, much to what I assumed, was that really a whole lot of nothing came out of it, even though there was a whole lot of people trying to, make something of it, probably more so than anything was the fact that yesterday was probably just a formality. It turns out that Yassir and Tiger had been in the area for at least a few days minimum and had already spent some time together and even played some golf together. And my guess is they had already discussed a whole lot of information and stuff about what each other wanted and how they felt and hashed out a whole bunch of stuff, that way. And by the time they got to that meeting, where guys like Malnati and these players that had said they didn't even know nothing about live golf, they didn't understand what was going on, they didn't know Yassir. I mean, these guys are representing the entirety of the players on the PGA Tour. And they flat out said now, 2 years plus into this whole thing, that they basically didn't know anything today, going into this meeting. So, anyways, enough of that being said, it's I think the reality is that they probably came out of it with just a simple, better feel for knowing what's going on each side, and I don't think they have a way of coming to any good agreements, especially without giving concessions that matter a ton to each other. And so it's just a continuation. We're not getting anywhere with this at this stage. So. The Masters is going to be a big day for sure. We get the players back playing together, and I think as we progress through the major season this year, it's going to become pressing that the majors can either on their own go stand out and take advantage of this situation. Some of them, the Masters for sure, the Open maybe, PGA probably not, and the U.S. Open. The U.S. Open is going to be a big one. But there's a whole lot of people here in the U.S., especially the media, that are trying to clamor about somehow getting Live to basically disappear, be folded into the PGA Tour somehow, become a off-season thing. It's just, again, I get it. Protect your turf. It makes sense, but here's the thing. They just announced this morning a signing. Let me pull this up, in fact, so I get it right. With AEG partnership, who had, I guess, presented, I believe already at their big Mayakoba opening event. But AEG Presents is a subsidiary or a portion of the AEG Group, AEG Worldwide, one of the world's largest owner of sports teams and sport events. The AEG Presents brand is the world's second largest presenter of live music and entertainment events. That's no joke, folks. This is a big, powerful company based out of LA, all about big performances and music and all kinds of stuff. And, so regardless of, again, the reasons behind all of it, those are different things. That's how you got to make your own personal choices about all this stuff, right? But in terms of what's actually going on, Liv shows no sign of slowing down anytime soon. And at this stage, if anything, they certainly are showing signs of just massive growth in a very short period of time. And to me, that indicates that a lot of what's being talked about, a lot of wishful thinking, and that's on the backs of the fact that everything got disrupted. Like it, don't like it, believe it, not, the reasons, all the different things that come to this thing. I mean, and let's remember a couple things. The PGA Tour banned players from playing in Saudi Arabia just months before Greg and Yassir got together and kicked off this live thing. Greg Norman, he took this idea to the tour at least 2 times, and I believe even more than that in all reality. But at least a couple times, he went straight to the tour in Monahan, or maybe Finchman, whoever it was, it doesn't matter, and flat out pitched an idea and said, look, I think we should do this. And they told him to take a hike, basically. And so, it's... as fans, we're maybe not going to get what we want, at least not anytime soon. And that sucks. I don't disagree with that. But if you don't listen to your players, and in this situation, your employees and your product, and that's what people tune in for. They want to see the players battling it out in some way, shape, or form. Period. The end. And I think in this situation, they're kind of at a standstill because there's not really a whole lot of great ways to come to an agreement that really truly beneficials everybody, from a business standpoint from both sides, and especially unfortunately for the fans. So we'll see. We'll hold out. But basically yesterday was a whole lot of nothing at this stage. Nothing's really been released, of course, which I didn't really expect anything to. It is what it is. So okay. So a little golf info here. What was this thing? Let me check here. Oh, so I had a little question thingy that I put up. Sort of a lot of internet stuffing is like baiting and hooking and trying to get people to see something and have a response. Of course, hardly anybody does. That's okay. Hey, by the way though, go to Twitter P45KDG. That's my Twitter handle. I put out stuff all the time and comment, ask questions, share it, whatever. But check it out because a lot of times things I'm talking about here I'm kind of throwing out there as well. But this was a relationship of the most common. So basically there's been a whole lot of studies going on. And I won't get too deep into it because it can get kind of confusing. But inputs, so hands, wrists, fingers, how we maneuver and put motion into that golf club and how that affects all kinds of things going around your golf swing. And 2 of the most common, if you sit and you watch players for years and years and years, thousands and thousands of videotape lessons and breaking it down, and you start to see the way they're hitting the ball, and for the most part, other than like really low handicap amateurs, they all got the same basic things typically going on, and there's reasons for that. We'll get to that later. But these inputs, and so I always go and like, yeah, okay, so basically a lot of this with the wrist, and this would be, so for golf we kind of flip it around. So if you're a right-handed player, you put your left hand on the club in the lead position on the front side of the club, so target side, and your right hand is on the back side, which unfortunately for most golfers is a really bad thing because there's a lot of wanting to do this with that backhand as you try to hit a golf ball. And that motion right there, when you try to do that, employ that into hitting a golf ball, chaos. Inconsistencies, bad impacting, high shots, low shots, loss of distance, loss of control, you name it. Basically anything we could talk about, you come to me and say, hey, what's going on? What's happening with your ball flight? I hit it like this, I hit it like that, I hit it like this. Okay, so you're inconsistent. You don't hit it as far as you'd like to. And you probably don't have like trajectory control. You don't know for sure where that ball's going to take off and go. Nope. Yeah, okay, got it. And then we look at the videotape, and sure enough, by the time they're trying to come down and smack that little white ball, boop, there's a whole lot of this. And because of this, there's a whole lot of like turning, basically, which we call gamma. There's a lot of rotating. And those 2 things create just total chaos when striking a golf ball. Now, it don't mean you can't hit a golf ball that way, because you can. There's, obviously, I just said thousands of players that do it. But what happens is that the ability to time those actions and do it especially over and over again and then present yourself with all the different variables, lies and different grasses and turfs and sand and everything we face while trying to hit that little white ball. And what happens is that it's so much harder to find a consistent way of finding that good impacting. Now you get some, everybody's got this type of stuff going on typically in their golf swing to some degree, and so it's not like anybody can't play golf doing this. It's just that you typically, if you're honest, if you sit down, you think about your game, you look back and you go, I just can't figure out why. Why is it I hit like 7 good shots in a row, and then one just poof out of nowhere was like way bad. Not a little bad. I mean way bad. And these are some of the inputs that are the reasons. So what we do, not everybody, me for sure, the guys I study from, the ones that are better at this than even me, I got 2 top 50 Golf Digest instructors that I still try to learn from every week. And well, technically 4. There's 2 guys on the radio that I listen to on the weekends as well. Anyhow, the big picture is this. The good ones know. There are very important, efficient, we could use the word, or let's just say better. There are much better ways to use your hands and wrists and your little fingers when you employ action into that little golf club of yours. But to learn how to do it is a whole different ballgame. We know what those skills should be. We know why they should be what they should be. And we know how they allow us to produce the results we're all basically seeking. More consistency, more accurate, straighter, right? I don't say straight. I don't like straight. Accuracy I like. I like that word a lot. Further, spin control, trajectory, all these things we talk, or you may read about, hear about, whatever, on all your YouTubes and Twitterverses and all that stuff. But there are important inputs, how we use our little hands, wrists, and fingers on that golf club. And that's one of the most important things you can ever learn if you're going to ever try to, get better or master how to hit that little white ball. So I put that up there because I know a lot of people probably don't even consider it most of the time. But we have ways to measure it too. That's the most important thing. And that's where one of the things, I don't know if I put it on the post, but Hack Motion Golf. It's an incredibly important tool that we use nowadays. I probably don't use it as much as I need to, mainly because a lot of the players I currently am still working with are not really high-level players. So you can kind of take the video and pretty much know, yeah, you see that, yeah, okay, we can see that. We don't need to measure it. We have an idea what's going on. It's when you kind of get to that more next-level category, and you have to start figuring out, well, I can't detect on a camera. Yikes. What's happening? It means I sure as heck can't detect in real speed on a range what's happening. Well, then the measurements come into play, and we can start actually figuring out, or shoot, if you really have to go to the ultimate high level, you go down. I'd send somebody to Brian or Mr. Jacobs up there in New York, because they got machines and Alpha Man and gears that boom, blow, your brain will explode watching what they do. But they're working with the absolute top level too. They're working with tour pros. Jacobs has been working with Padraig Harrington here for the last 3 or 4 years, I think. And so, if you look at him, he's kind of revitalized his career, and it comes from a lot of this new understanding of inputs, as I like to call it. They're gonna be a little more technical because that's their brand. It's forces and torques. The way you force and torque that golf club. Okay, it's cool. I like the terms, but it doesn't really match up for us with just everyday stuff and especially lower level players, which I'm going to be working with more than they are typically. So anyhow, I'll take on the great players, of course. And I got all the tools necessary if we have to. Come on down and see me. Anyways, but yeah, it's one of those common things, and almost every amateur does it. Almost every amateur has too much beta force this direction, and then a resulting gamma action that we don't want. Every player does it to some degree differently, however. That's the difference, which is why you see a variation of ball flights and players and how they end up making all that work. So, but the inconsistencies, the lack of distances, the missed shots, the bad impacts, by far and away, that's where it mostly comes from. The key to understanding it is what's causing it. That's the big one right there. And that's where the evaluation comes into play. The evaluation lesson is so important. I need to have time to sit down, talk to you, learn about you as a player. I need to understand what's happening. Then go to the video, work through it. Okay, now we see here's some things. Sort it out, figure it out, compare it to what you want to do, get your goals set, where are we going to go, and then put together the roadmap, really, is what it all comes down to. And then from that point on, then it's all about attacking and building proper skills, developing new skills that are going to allow you to learn these things. And that's more of the process-driven, of really developing a player and all that kind of stuff. And so we'll get into processes later. I've carried on enough for today. But anyways, do you know your forces and torques, people? Most of you don't. There's other terms that are used sometimes, whatever. We can cover that later. But the key is knowing, you got to figure out at some point if you're doing good input or bad input, and that's kind of the big picture to this whole presentation that I had today. It's on Twitter, again, at P45KDG. Look it up. Check out the posts. Comment. Ask questions. Whatever. Email. You can hit me at p45knuckledowngolf@gmail.com. And as always, folks, smash this like button right down there. Right, you see it. I know you see it. It's right there. It's simple. Little thumb up. Boom, done. Subscribe. Share it out there on the Twitterverse, Facebook, whatever. You go share it wherever you want, folks. Ask me questions. I will respond. I did yesterday. Thank you for that question, Mr. Josh. And for now, take care, folks. We'll see you later.